I remember something that had been lurking in the back of my brain for a very long time, that when I was a teenager, I was attacked on a train, and I'd sort of forgotten about it, but I remember at the time being so angry. It was anger, and I thought, why is this? Well, it was sort of boy. I thought it was an old man, was probably not a great deal older than me, but and I think...
And Atam was the Queen for a very long time. And although you kind of know that this might happen, you don't really think about it very much. Not least of all because the monarchy is about continuity. But I think for my brother, this is something he's been waiting for.
Welcome to Crown Ara, where the royal drama gets unpacked piece by piece, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Subscribe now and join the channel for all the latest twists, shocking claims, and non-stop royal updates. Imagine being the Queen of England and still being told you cannot step into a certain room. That is the shocking situation insiders say is quietly unfolding inside royal circles. Behind the heavy doors of the palace, talk is spreading that Princess Anne, the famously tough and no-nonsense Princess Royal, has reportedly taken legal action to protect a private section of the Sandringham estate. And the result? Queen Camilla's plan to use that area as a peaceful summer hideaway may have been completely shut down. So what is really going on here? Why would one of the most disciplined and respected figures in the royal family suddenly draw such a hard line now? This situation is not just about property or comfort. Something deeper appears to be brewing behind the scenes. To understand why this tension matters, we first need to understand Sandringham itself and why it carries such enormous weight in royal life. Sandringham is not just another grand royal house. For many, it represents the very heart and tradition of the British monarchy. The estate stretches across nearly 20,000 acres of beautiful parkland in Norfolk, about 110 miles north of London, surrounded by forests, gardens, and quiet countryside.
I was so furious about it, and it sort of lurked for many years. And I think, when all the subject about domestic abuse came up, and suddenly you hear a story like John and Amy's, it all, it's something that I feel very strongly about.
Thank you for sharing that story first, Your Majesty, because that's.
The estate was first purchased in 1862 by Queen Victoria as a gift for her son, the future King Edward VII. Since then, it has remained privately owned by the ruling monarch for generations. And here is an important detail many people overlook. Sandringham is not owned by the state or the Crown Estate. It is private property that passes directly from one monarch to the next. That means the estate does not belong to the country. It belongs personally to the king. So when Queen Elizabeth II passed away in September 2022, Sandringham immediately became the private property of King Charles III. Sandringham is also deeply personal for the royal family. It is the place where they gather every Christmas, carrying on traditions that go back generations. It is also where Queen Elizabeth II spent the final chapter of her life, surrounded by the quiet countryside she loved so much. Prince Philip also chose the estate as his retreat. After stepping away from public duties, he lived quietly at Wood Farm on the Sandringham grounds, enjoying a peaceful and private routine away from palace life. But the estate is far more than just the main Sandringham house. Scattered across its enormous land are several historic residences and working farms. Wood Farm is one of the best known. Anmer Hall has been used by Prince William and Princess Catherine as a countryside home. Park House holds special meaning as the birthplace of Princess Diana. There is also the Folly and several active farms across the property, including Marsh Farm. One residence has recently drawn attention for another reason. Royal reports say Prince Andrew currently lives at Wood Farm after stepping away from Royal Lodge in Windsor. The estate has long served as a quiet place for different members of the family to live privately. For generations, access to these homes and different sections of Sandringham was handled through informal family understandings. These were not strict legal contracts. They were simple agreements built on trust between family members, but times appear to be changing. By 2026, those quiet arrangements are reportedly becoming far more formal and far more tense. Once lawyers start getting involved in royal property matters, it signals that the old gentleman's agreements may no longer be enough. And this brings attention back to a long-running tension inside the royal family. the complicated relationship between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla. According to royal watchers, this strain did not begin with Charles and Camilla's marriage in 2005. Some reports trace the awkward dynamic back to the 1970s, when Camilla Parker Bowles first became closely linked with Prince Charles. That relationship eventually played a role in the breakdown of Charles's marriage to Princess Diana, a difficult chapter that deeply affected the royal family and its public image. For Princess Anne, who has spent her life protecting the stability and reputation of the monarchy, those events left a lasting impression. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, has built a reputation as one of the toughest and most dedicated members of the royal family. Year after year, she carries out more official engagements than almost any other working royal, often outpacing even younger members of the family. Anne is known for her discipline and her almost military-style precision when it comes to duty. She rarely shows emotion in public and keeps a strict, traditional view of what royal responsibility should look like. Attention, praise, and headlines have never been her focus. Many royal watchers describe her as the quiet backbone, holding the modern monarchy steady.
For the rest of us, it's more a question of, okay, we have to shift the way we support. We don't know yet. I mean, there was an order to the years, because my mother didn't change very much. We kind of knew what the rhythm of the year was. So things like that will change. And
Queen Camilla entered royal life under very different circumstances. When she became part of the royal household, the situation around her was surrounded by years of controversy and public debate. For a long time, many people in Britain were skeptical of her role within the family. Some senior figures inside royal circles reportedly kept their distance during those early years. Over time, Camilla worked carefully to rebuild her public image. Through charity work and royal duties, she gradually gained broader acceptance from the public. But insiders often say that the underlying tension between her and Princess Anne never completely faded away. One palace insider described their relationship as a quiet, cold war that occasionally breaks into open disagreement. According to that source, Anne reportedly feels that Camilla sometimes pushes beyond what Anne believes her role should be. Meanwhile, Camilla is said to feel that Anne allows family loyalty to shape her decisions too strongly. Now that long-running tension may have found a very real battlefield, the grounds of Sandringham itself, and another figure sits right at the center of the situation, Prince Andrew. The chain of events reportedly began after the dramatic fall of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, once known as Prince Andrew, Duke of York. In October 2025, King Charles officially removed his younger brother from remaining royal privileges and from living in certain royal residences. Andrew had already faced years of public criticism following a widely discussed television interview about his past association with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. The controversy grew further after a memoir written by Epstein survivor Virginia Giuffre was published after her passing. Following these developments, Andrew reportedly moved out of the large 30-room royal lodge near Windsor. Instead, he relocated to Wood Farm, a much smaller and quieter residence on the Sandringham estate. The move was meant to reduce public attention, but insiders say it may have quietly triggered a much larger conflict behind palace walls. Then came a moment that stunned royal watchers everywhere. On the morning of February 19, 2026, Prince Andrew's 66th birthday, police activity suddenly unfolded at the Sandringham estate. Unmarked police vehicles reportedly arrived at the property as officers carried out searches at both Wood Farm in Norfolk and Royal Lodge in Berkshire at the same time.
A man attacked me, and I did fight back, and I got off. I remember getting off the train and my mother looking at me and saying, you know, why is your hair standing on end, and why is the button, missing from your coat? And
Gosh, so it was physical.
I'd been attacked, but I remember anger and.
Andrew was taken to a nearby police station, where he remained for around 11 hours before being released while the investigation continued. The situation immediately triggered headlines across the country. Historically, the moment was extraordinary. It marked the first known arrest of a sibling of a reigning British monarch in centuries, something not seen since Queen Elizabeth I had her sister Mary detained back in 1554. King Charles responded carefully, releasing a short statement saying that the law must take its course. The message was brief, but it signaled that the situation had moved far beyond a private family matter. This is where Princess Anne reportedly stepped into the center of the drama, and the story took an even sharper turn. According to several sources familiar with the situation, Anne has been quietly pushing behind the scenes to ensure that her brother is treated with basic dignity during the investigation. Despite the controversy surrounding Andrew, she is said to have raised concerns about his mental well-being directly with King Charles and Prince William. Some insiders describe Anne as the driving force behind a private effort within the family to prevent Andrew from being completely cut off from support. Queen Camilla, however, is rumored to see the situation very differently. According to palace sources, she has taken a much firmer stance, believing that any visible show of family protection could damage the monarchy's already fragile public image. One palace insider even claimed that Camilla is genuinely appalled that Anne continues pushing the issue at all. Now, this disagreement is no longer just about Andrew's situation. The tension has reportedly spilled over into something much more concrete: access to space and living arrangements inside the Sandringham estate itself. And this is where the legal move enters the picture. According to insiders, Princess Anne's legal team has formally documented and asserted her family's private use rights over a specific wing of the Sandringham estate. The move is not about claiming ownership from the king. Sandringham remains King Charles's private property. Instead, the legal action reportedly focuses on protecting long-standing usage rights connected to that particular section of the estate, a step that could directly affect Queen Camilla's plans for a quiet summer retreat there. What Princess Anne's legal step actually does is not about taking ownership away from the king. Instead, it formally locks in the kind of informal arrangements that royal family members have relied on for generations when using different parts of large estates like Sandringham. Across Britain, this kind of setup is very common in historic family estates. When properties pass through multiple generations, families often create legal agreements that define who can use certain homes, wings, or land areas. These can include occupancy licenses, customary use rights, or even shared seasonal access, all handled through lawyers once informal family understandings begin to fall apart. And that appears to be exactly what happened at Sandringham in 2026. By bringing in legal representatives to formally record her family's access to specific spaces on the estate, Princess Anne has reportedly achieved two major things at once. First, she creates a clear legal paper trail. That documentation makes it much harder for anyone inside the royal structure to quietly change or override those arrangements later. Second, and this is where the tension becomes impossible to ignore, the move sends a very direct message within palace circles. According to insiders, the signal is clear. This area has long-standing use attached to Anne's side of the family, and she has no intention of stepping aside. The timing of this decision is also extremely important. Sandringham House normally closes to the public between July 13th and August 3rd. During that period, the estate becomes a private gathering place for the royal family, often hosting small events and family visits away from the public eye. In recent months, there had reportedly been quiet conversations about Queen Camilla using one of the estate's secluded wings for a longer personal retreat during that window. King Charles often spends part of the summer at Balmoral in Scotland, which could have given Camilla time to enjoy Sandringham privately. But by moving now and securing those usage rights through legal channels, Anne has effectively removed that option, at least within the area her legal team documented. Sources claim the situation has left Camilla extremely frustrated, though the palace has made no official statement about the dispute. To understand why this matters so much to Camilla, it helps to look at her long relationship with private homes and personal retreats, something that has always played an important role in her life. Unlike King Charles, whose identity has always been deeply tied to historic estates and land stewardship, Camilla has often relied on her own private spaces for independence and quiet. For many years, her favorite refuge was Ray Mill House in Wiltshire, a beautiful countryside property she bought in 1995 for about £850,000 after her divorce from Andrew Parker Bowles. It became a place where she could step away from royal pressures and simply live life on her own terms. For years, Ray Mill House was more than just a countryside property for Camilla. It was her personal sanctuary. It was the one place where she could step away from royal titles, expectations, and constant public attention. There, she could simply be Camilla, not the queen or a public figure living under a microscope. But in early 2026, reports began circulating that Camilla had quietly transferred ownership of Ray Mill House. The move immediately sparked speculation because it suggested she might be stepping further into the royal system instead of holding onto a private refuge outside it. At nearly the same time, another surprising detail surfaced. King Charles had reportedly purchased a nearby neighboring property for around £3 million. That purchase connected their private lives in the area even more closely and raised new questions about how the royal couple planned to divide their time between different residences. With Ray Mill House no longer serving the same role and Balmoral firmly established as King Charles's traditional summer retreat, Sandringham began to look like an increasingly attractive option for Camilla. The estate offers something rare for a senior royal: privacy. Surrounded by vast gardens and countryside that Camilla has long admired, it could allow her to maintain a quiet, low-profile presence during the summer months while staying away from the non-stop pressure of royal life in London. But this is exactly where the current conflict becomes impossible to ignore. The specific wing of Sandringham that Princess Anne's lawyers are reportedly protecting is believed to have long-standing connections to Anne's family arrangements. For years, parts of that section have reportedly been used informally by the Princess Royal's household during visits to the estate. Whether Camilla had concrete plans to move into those rooms, or whether Anne's legal action was simply a preemptive strike, the result is dramatic all the same. A door that might once have been open now appears firmly closed, and that leaves King Charles stuck right in the middle of an uncomfortable royal standoff. The king is already facing one of the most difficult periods of his reign. Alongside the responsibilities of leading the monarchy, he has been dealing with ongoing health concerns. In December 2025, he revealed he would scale back some of his cancer treatments, suggesting his condition may have stabilized, but the diagnosis remains serious. At the same time, family tensions continue to swirl around him. His brother Andrew has faced legal trouble and public controversy. His son Prince Harry remains largely separated from the royal household while continuing legal battles with British tabloids that keep the family constantly in the headlines. Public support for the monarchy still holds strong overall, but the institution has been under intense pressure in recent years.
Things aren't. Well, I think the slim down was said in a day when there were a few more people around. Make that seem like a justifiable comment.
The world changes a bit.
It changes a bit. I mean, it doesn't sound like a good idea from where I'm standing, I have to say.
Sure, it does
I'm not
not.
quite sure what else, we can do.
And now, another internal clash has surfaced, this time between two of the most powerful women in Charles's world, his sister, Princess Anne, and his wife, Queen Camilla. According to sources close to the palace, the king now finds himself trying to balance loyalty, family unity, and royal stability, all at the same time. Sources close to the palace say King Charles has been extremely hesitant to step into the middle of this situation. His position is complicated, and the stakes are deeply personal. On one side stands Princess Anne, the sister who has shown unwavering loyalty for decades. During Charles's recent health struggles, Anne has reportedly been one of his strongest supporters, standing beside him publicly while also offering quiet help behind the scenes. But on the other side is Queen Camilla, the partner many insiders say has become a stabilizing force in the king's life. Over the years, she has helped Charles navigate enormous public pressure that cannot easily be ignored. This raises bigger questions about the future of Sandringham itself. Princess Anne's legal team is now reportedly asserting documented rights to specific areas within the estate. That move effectively limits Queen Camilla's access to those sections, at least for the time being. What once might have been handled through a quiet conversation among family members has now turned into a structured legal matter, and the symbolism runs deeper than a simple summer stay. For generations, Sandringham has been one of the most personal places in the entire royal world. It is where the family traditionally gathers at Christmas, not because royal duty requires it, but because the estate has always felt like home. Queen Elizabeth II cherished the property throughout her life. King George VI even passed away there. The estate holds layers of family history and personal memory. Now, the involvement of lawyers suggests something many royal observers have quietly feared: that trust inside the Windsor family may not be as strong as it once was. By formalizing these arrangements, Princess Anne appears to be signaling that the era of informal family agreements is over. Legal clarity now takes priority over quiet understanding. And Queen Camilla is not known for stepping aside easily. At 78, she is more secure in her role than ever before. After decades of criticism and public scrutiny, she has fought hard to earn her place within the monarchy, and many believe she has no intention of giving ground now. Queen Camilla is not someone who easily backs away from a challenge. Those who follow royal dynamics closely say it is very unlikely that Princess Anne's legal move alone will push her off her plans. The real question now is what Camilla does next. Will she escalate the situation and force the issue into the public spotlight? Or will she quietly find another way to secure her place at Sandringham? Meanwhile, Prince Andrew remains at Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate, living far from the public role he once held. He is still under police investigation, has lost his royal titles, and reports suggest he has been facing serious personal struggles. While the monarchy has kept a firm distance from the situation, Princess Anne has reportedly continued to show concern for her brother's well-being. Sandringham has always seen both the proud and painful moments of royal history. It has been a place where monarchs relaxed with family, but also where some of the most difficult chapters in royal life quietly unfolded. Now, in 2026, the historic estate has become the stage for a new kind of battle, one centered on power, loyalty, space, and legacy within the House of Windsor. The conflict may be unfolding through lawyers and documents rather than dramatic public statements, but the message is still powerful. Princess Anne has drawn a very clear line. The big question now is simple: will anyone challenge it? Because this dispute is not just about a summer retreat or a few rooms inside a country estate. It touches something much bigger. Who truly holds influence inside the royal family when the king chooses not to intervene? If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more royal stories, and share it with someone who follows the monarchy. And we want to hear from you too. Do you think Princess Anne was right to take legal action, or has this family dispute gone too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.